And look, there's something that comes up, and so I'll just touch on maybe a sensitive subject, because I always hear you say decision fatigue, right? Letting go of the vine. So maybe that...
I'm better at that, though, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're progress. Yep, making progress.
Wow, that was passive.
That's good. It's okay. But I think the point is that being able to let go of certain decisions and being okay with whatever the result is. No, I think you definitely made tremendous stride, as every business owner should. You can't decide on every little minuscule thing all day, every day. That is a time fatigue for sure.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa, brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners. It's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and the direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. And now, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I'm your host, Frank LaRosa, and once again joined by my co-host, Stacey Frank, Stacey with an E. What's cooking?
Happy to be back.
Awesome. Good to be back.
Great topic today.
Yeah, so today, first, today we're going to talk about how the top 1% of the advisors generally spend their time, right? And really the top 1% of the advisors, but it's really the top 1% of business owners. So sort of, but again, within our space, it's financial advisors that are owning businesses, or if you aren't in the independent space and you're a W-2 advisor or practitioner, some of these things still really apply, right? So it's really how successful people spend their time. But first, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. Again, my name is Frank LaRosa. I'm the CEO of Elite Consulting Partners. We are the largest third-party recruiting firm in the industry. Last year alone, we moved close to 200 unique advisors, represented billions and billions of dollars, I think $16 billion in client assets. So we know a little bit about what we're talking about. If you're watching this for the first time, these are generally unscripted conversations, although today we have some notes here. We do it that way because we want you to get the feeling and the conversation, because we're just having a talk, an advisor talk.
Yeah, like we're having conversation with an actual advisor.
About real world things.
Right, that we talk to each other and our team members about.
All the time. These are real conversations, real dialogue. We're sort of bringing in behind the scenes. A lot of advisors around the country, you're sort of in your world, you're in your little bubbles, and sometimes you just don't get out and hear what's going on and what other people are talking about, or you're in your small office and you're just hearing the same guys all the time, gals all the time. And so our goal is really to bring different perspectives from across the country, different ideas to you. Use them, don't use them. It's educational. Share this with other people. If you obviously, that's the highest form of compliment for us, is you share this with other people. Then they give us a call and they want to work with us in a bunch of different areas. So anyway, so today, and also don't forget we have a YouTube channel. So you should, if you're just listening to this, you should check us out on YouTube, which is Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. You'll be able to see what our backdrop looks like and all that good stuff. So anyway. What do the top 1% of advisors actually spend their time? I mean, what does that look like during the course of a week? And we sort of have 4 or 5 different areas: time blocking versus reactive scheduling, balancing client-facing time versus like business time. I call this sort of working in the business versus working on the business. Delegation versus leadership, and then sort of an energy audit. And I'll get into a little bit about what we did here. A lot of these things are things that we work on. Some of these things that we're not always good at.
But we have awareness of. At least we're willing to expose ourselves.
Right, yeah. We're a little exposure here.
Right.
And I think that these are things that you are ever evolving. Even when you're starting to work on them, it's going to continue to evolve. And we'll get into some of that, right? So like, for instance, time blocking. Time blocking versus reactive scheduling. So what does your schedule look like during the course of a week? And I know you're very structured. So maybe why don't you, because you're way more, I'm pretty structured, but
you're pretty structured.
You're also dialed in, because you're running your practice, you're running your household, you have your kids, you're doing all that other stuff. So
Yeah,
pretty much
queen
like Supermom,
multitasker.
right.
Yeah, queen multitasker. It doesn't
so
end.
when you hear time blocking
Yeah.
versus reactive scheduling, what does that mean to you?
I think sometimes it's a feeling. Like when I come in the mornings, I like to do sort of a warm up exercise. It might be on my drive in. It might be when I first sit down at my desk and I look at my vision board or I look at my activity board. And sometimes it's a feeling of, okay, who am I going to call first to kind of get the juices flowing, right? Who can I call? Whether it's an advisor client or the firm recruiter, that always happens first. So maybe that's not a time block. Maybe that's a ritual. But within time blocking, we advise that everybody, all business owners, have some kind of rituals to kind of get your day going. But from there, we are, especially in a leadership management role that we are in, but also working with clients, we have to sort of diversify our day from management, I call it elite greater good responsibilities, and then also client responsibilities. I feel like if I can work on all of those you have tos early on, get the hard conversations out of the way, get the hard meetings out of the way, then it really leaves time blocking opportunities and some flexibility where I can just focus on advisor clients, doing some outreach, maybe some cold calling, some reactive calling later in the day. So my time blocking is specific and defined, but it's not unflexible.
Right.
So that's sort of my big picture of my time blocking. But, you can go from, 8 to 10, I do X, 10 to 1, I do this, take a lunch break, 2 to 4, back to calling, 3 to 5 meetings, 5 to 7 calling. So as long as I think whatever your time blocking feels productive to you, that's what you should do. My message is just have one.
Right.
Have something that's consistent, that's, rinse and repeat, that you can utilize whether you're sitting at your desk or, wherever else you might be.
Yeah, I sort of subscribe to, I live by my Outlook calendar, right? So if it's not in my Outlook calendar,
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist, right?
I agree.
But what I've also tried to work on, and I've picked some of these things up. So again, this is sort of us basically coaching ourselves, right? But it's through things like I follow someone named Alex Hermosi. So if you watch him, acquisition.com, he uses these terms maker time versus worker time, right? And so, meaning maker time is you're sort of thinking about stuff, that's more salesy. Worker time is working on reports, working on operational things in our world. But what I really break it down to is sort of operational focused vision and production, right? So as a financial advisor, you should be time blocking so that your mindset, for me at least, I guess maybe the way I look at it is, I tend to try to stay in the same frame of mind for blocks of time. Meaning that if I'm going to be engaging with clients, this is again translates to financial advisors. So if I'm going to be engaging with clients, I'm going to do that over blocks of period of time. So I'm in that zone.
Right, so you're not going back and forth. You're not oscillating from working with an employee issue and then going back to a client and then back to an employee issue.
What I found was that's exhausting. So we get into like sort of an energy audit, right?
I agree.
What I found is that if I go from like a business meeting to an HR issue, then to working with a client, I'm now, by the time I get on the phone with a client, I'm tired, I'm exhausted because I just dealt with meetings and then an HR issue. And so you sort of have to do the same thing as you're running a business. And I say running a business, this is, again, a practitioner, which to me means you're a financial advisor in a W-2 environment, right? You still have your clients, right? So you may have some clients that you have to do a lot of heavy research on, right? So you may not want to have really important investment calls with certain clients if you know that during that course of that day you have to do heavy research, because you have to then change your mindset. And that changing and shifting of your mindset can be mentally exhausting, and then you're not on your A game when you have to go do something else, right?
I think one of the things I just want to add to that, and I think we as society, we're terrible at it. And that is when we're thinking about time blocking our day, whether it's the warm-up exercise, the management meeting, the client-facing stuff, schedule thinking time. Schedule thinking time.
Right.
It can be 10 minutes. It can be, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever works in your day. Some days are busier than others. But without that thinking time scheduled, then it's just a lot of noise coming at you. You don't have time to process, hence being more effective with your clients and then with your team members.
Yeah. So what I do there. So again, that's what Alex calls maker time.
Okay.
Where you're
time.
making, you're thinking, you're making something. You're thinking about the vision of your firm. You're thinking about a new marketing program. You're thinking about you're going to do a webinar. You're going to build a referral program. All that stuff is maker time, right? And what I have found when I audit my week is that if I did not schedule any of this maker time, where I actually literally will time block on my calendar, no meetings, right? Because I want to get some things done. When I don't do that, and I'm just planning meetings on my calendar,
a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4,
all the time, I'm basically shot by the end of the week, right?
Well, you can't be effective.
Right, I'm ineffective. There you go. I'm ineffective. And so, that's why it's really important. And it seems counterintuitive because you're like, well, I need to get as many meetings on the calendar as I possibly can, but not if you're not on your A game. And so so time blocking versus reactive scheduling is super important, and it will evolve. I can tell you that, for me, I've evolved, right? Where I try to have certain types of meetings on certain days of the week where I know that I'm more, I'm ready to have those conversations more so than other days, right? If I'm working with a firm on a strategy, I may have those meetings like in the afternoons when I'm more aligned with those conversations. It depends. Mondays for me are different than Tuesdays. Right? We have our team meetings on Tuesdays. So like today is a Tuesday. We're recording this session. We just had our management meeting today. So for me, Tuesdays tend to be more of a vision business side, not operational, but my brain is connected to the running of the business, sort of working on the business versus in the business, right?
And I agree. I used to not do this, but I got better at it. After our Tuesday meetings, I used to just, have an 11, a 12, a 1 with client-facing conversations and meetings. I can't do that anymore because it's shifting from management focus. What do we have to do for the business? And then shift to what, helping a client solve a problem. That is really hard and started becoming really ineffective. So I refuse to do it.
Yeah.
I protect that time to process the meeting, but then maybe have a client conversation in 3 or 4 hours from now to be able to shift my focus.
Right. So
much better.
So work on, batching your time, right? We're understanding the different components of your schedule, batch them in time, and then try to block them into your calendar based on your personality, based on your work style, certain things that your personality is. Like, I'm not necessarily a morning person, right?
Really?
You believe it or not. So I tend to not do a lot of strategy thinking and a lot of strategy meetings in the morning, first thing in the morning. I tend to do that better at night, right? So I basically don't book any meetings beyond, I'll call it like 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, right? Because we work here at least, we work till 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I want like 2 hours in the evening to just think, right? And so it's been really, really important.
Reflect on the day.
Yeah, reflect. So when you get to, sort of the working in the business, so the next one is sort of like balancing client-facing, which we're talking about, but client-facing versus business time. This is really where so the first one we're talking about time blocking versus reactive scheduling. Those are sort of micro things, right? Different meetings. This also includes like personal stuff, right? Like make sure your personal stuff's going on the calendar and do certain, look at your calendar as a whole and figure out one of the most effective days. But I'll call it sort of macro wise, right? It's you're either working in the business or you're working on the business. And there's only one, or that's it. There's nothing else. In the business, on the business. Now, the majority of your time you're going to be spending in the business.
Working with clients,
operations, staff, all of those things, investments, all of that stuff. But you have to have time to work on the business, which means you need to time block. And you literally, like, you can't just...
You have to be selfish about it in a way.
You have to be very selfish about it, but
protective of your time.
What I used to do, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not really good at this still. Like, if you ask my assistant, she would say, hey, you're not really that good at your time blocking. I'm getting better, right? But I used to say, okay, I don't want any appointments past a certain time, right? But there was nothing on my calendar, so then I would just be like, all right, put them at 2 o'clock, or I'll put that person at 3 o'clock, or I can talk to that person at 4 o'clock. And then all of a sudden, Thursday and Friday came around, and I had no time. I'm like, well, okay, do I have any time to go to the bathroom? Like, and so I actually had to start getting to actually putting in block time, color coded on my calendar, and it's dark gray, which means don't book anything on that on there. So, but when you get into in the business, on the business, that requires you to really schedule that time. Otherwise, you sort of just go to you sort of become you go back to being reactive, right? Client calls in, I'll take that phone call. When you are working on the business, you cannot take phone calls, you cannot take meetings. Many times you need to actually go off premises, right? So when we do this, we have our quarterly meetings, which is working on the business.
Yep.
We actually leave the office. We go down the street to a hotel. We sequester ourselves.
Phones in the basket.
This way we can again put our mind in the okay for the next however many hours we're going to work on the business. We're not taking client phone calls. We're not dealing with HR stuff. We're not dealing with this. We're not dealing with that. And it's super helpful because again, it's also about managing your energy and your time.
And making it more efficient versus just bouncing from one thing to the next.
Right. Because you have to, like, so Alex puts it this way, like if you're working on the business, right? So let's say you're creating a 10-year vision plan, right? But you allow people to come in. Sometimes it takes you 20, 30 minutes to start to get in a zone of the planning component, right? Now imagine you're in that zone and someone walks in and with the words that I hate them.
Hey, you got a minute?
Hey, you got a minute, right? Because you left your door open. And so now that person comes in, they have a totally different agenda. So now you have to then shift your mindset from what you were just doing to what they want to talk about, right? And so now you're engaged. You probably missed the first half of what they said because your mind is still on the vision thing. So you have to re-engage with them. Now that's 30 minutes that goes by, and maybe you solved their problem, maybe you didn't. Maybe they said something to you that aggravated you, or something changed, and then you have to go back to the vision thing. But now it's going to take you another 20 minutes to get back into that zone. If there was nothing for you to do in the meeting, in the interrupting meeting, right? If they came in and that you need to go solve a problem for a client, or you need to call your custodian, or you need to call, there's a technology issue, whatever it is. Now all of a sudden, your vision planning meeting went off the rails.
Yeah, and I think, look, we come to the office every single day. We're very focused like that. We enjoy being in the office, but there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I think, quite honestly, maybe this is a therapy session for us, that we need to get better about respecting each other's maker time, because it does derail the focus to, hey, I have this problem, but wait, I was working with a client, or hey, I have this problem, but wait, I was working on an employee issue. To bounce back and forth like that, although we should, pat ourselves on the back for being able to multitask, that's great, but then you lose focus and you lose efficiency, power. Yeah. So I think we should
really look at your business. I mean, almost like this should have been number 1 versus number 2, right? Because it's maker time. I'm sorry, it's working on the business. business working in the business, right? And then from there, it's then scheduling time blocking, right? Because you want to work on the business, you still have to time block and schedule that, working on the business. And some of that might just be just taking a couple hours out of the office by yourself. Go sit at Starbucks or go wherever it is. It's just interesting because when you go do that, it shifts your mind into the higher level thinking. For me, what I have to do, I do some working on the business, typically on the weekends, usually like Sunday afternoons. But what gets my mind to shift is I usually grab a book and I'll start to read a little bit. And it almost doesn't matter what book it is. Well, all my books are business, entrepreneurship, all that other stuff, right? I'm not into novels, all that stuff.
Self-improvement.
They're all self. But what happens is, and I actually just was thinking about this over the weekend, the book itself doesn't actually matter. But by the exercise of holding the book, starting to read, it automatically shifts my mind into the on the business stuff.
On the business mode.
Right?
Yeah, again, but we were
then I
talking
start
about...
blowing your phones up with ideas, and this is what happens, right?
We know when you're doing that, by the way.
They know when I'm doing this. Oh, Frank's working on the business today because I'm sending them excerpts from the different books and everything. Because otherwise, if that line in the sand, that change of state, right, that state change is what you need. Otherwise, if you're like me, you just keep going. Work in, another client, another call, put another call. I can take another meeting.
I'm the same.
Right? And you just keep going and you don't stop. The reality is, so like in racing, right? Like slow is fast. When they say slow is fast, what you mean by that is sometimes you need to slow down. So when you're going into a turn in racing, people are like, oh my God, you need to take the turn as fast as possible. No, not so much. Sometimes you need to go into a turn slower than you think because it sets you up better to come out, preparation, and then you, on the long straightaway, you actually gain more speed.
Right.
Business is the same way. Sometimes you need to slow down, which is the work on the business, right? Because you need to enter the turn correctly, which means you need to strategize about your business for whatever look to the future. So when you come out of a on the business meeting, which is coming out of a turn, right? You're better positioned for the long straightaway and you get more time, right? So by slowing down, working on your business, what a great analogy.
There you go.
Slowing on the business, you set yourself up for the next quarter, the next 1 year, the next 3 years, because you spend some time thinking uninterrupted, slower, not fast paced, not rushed, and you position yourself better. And that's the difference between working on and off.
You're building rituals and preparation. Like you would never go for a marathon run without stretching or maybe walking or cold plunging or whatever it is. You would never go for that major 20-mile run without doing something ritually or in preparation first. It's the same thing.
Right. So this next topic, I think, because you're probably listening and go, hey, Frank, this is great, but like, who do I have? I don't have the staff. I don't have, whatever to do this. So I got to do it all myself. The next one is sort of delegation versus leadership. And this is a tough one for
type A people
type
who are
A
out of
person.
control.
Yeah, a little bit. Right. Exactly. That's why it's been a struggle for me.
We wouldn't know.
So it's, well, let me go back to one other thing that I think is really important that I've been working on. I think will help advisors. Actually, it sort of goes in line with this component, right? I have found that financial advisors, even though they run businesses, the really successful ones do it right? But the ones that are trying to be successful don't quite understand, right? And what I mean by that is they're still trying to do a lot of stuff themselves. I'll talk to an advisor that's doing $2 million a year or $1.5 million a year, whatever it is, and they have a sales assistant, a client service assistant that's doing stuff, but she's also playing double duty and doing stuff for the advisor as well as an assistant, and that's a huge mistake. Like you need to look at your staff in a different way. Like if you have a client service assistant, their job should just be working and focus on clients, right? Because you have then you have your business to run. The clients are within the business, but you have a business to run. You should have your own assistant that's there to manage your time and your calendar and your schedule and potentially maybe help you run the business a little bit. But I see far too many advisors that don't understand this. They don't want to invest the money in themselves, because that's what, when you hire an executive assistant, right, that's what you're doing. You're investing back into yourself to free up time so you can delegate some of these things.
And look, there's something that comes up, and so I'll just touch on maybe a sensitive subject, because I always hear you say decision fatigue, right? Letting go of the vine. So maybe that.
You're getting better at that, though, right?
Yep. Yeah. Progress. Yep. Making progress.
Wow, that was
That's
passive.
good. It's okay. But I think the point is that being able to let go of certain decisions and being okay with whatever the result is. No, I think you definitely made tremendous stride, as every business owner should. You can't decide on every little minuscule thing all day, every day. That is a time fatigue for sure.
Yeah.
So being able to utilize your staff or your assistants to take over those things and be okay with maybe not knowing what they're doing with it. But that's hard.
Right. So
It's hard for you.
Another program that I'm part of, which I actually have to leave in a couple hours, is something called Strategic Coach by Dan Sullivan. And one of the things that it teaches you is how to surround yourself with the who's, not the hows, right? So how do you surround yourself with people that can do the things that you don't necessarily want to do or you need help doing, so that you can take that decision off of your plate. And it's not, it takes time to develop. But one of those things that I think that that I've seen when I meet with business owners that are part of this group is how many of them don't have an assistant. Like that's where it should start, right? Because there are some basic things that you as the CEO shouldn't be doing, like coordinating your calendar and setting up meetings and all of those. That takes some time, right? So let them do that. But to your point, Stace, surround yourself with a strong team that you trust, that can make a lot more of the decisions for your business, as long as they understand and within the context of the firm going in the same direction. You as the owner don't necessarily need to know all the dirty details, right? So for me, like we work on a couple of things. We're doing some charity work, and my assistant was tasked with putting that stuff together, and she's done a great job. And when she comes to me, I know that she's done the work. I don't need to know the details, right? I don't need to know the timing and who's coming. They're bringing the information over. Like that's too much information, because I've gotten to a point where I trust her to make those decisions. I was involved in the higher level decisions, but I don't need to know the details.
As long as you're consistent with that in the event or in the meeting, that those minor details were taken off your plate, that sometimes whatever it is.
Correct.
That's the biggest thing, is being okay with, I gave up the control, I delegated that task, and now we're in the moment of the meeting or the event or the whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if you see something that maybe wasn't exactly what you anticipated,
Yeah, it is what it is.
don't grab the vine again.
Well, I try not to.
You do good.
I guess because my philosophy there, and this is I think a philosophy that you have to take into consideration, that you have to. It's sort of like with kids, right? You have to let them learn and let them develop, and maybe make some mistakes. Not really mistakes, but maybe not do it the way you would have wanted to do it initially, but you also didn't spend any time on it, right? So there's some give back that you got, and then by doing it the way they wanted to do it, you can do sort of like do a debrief afterwards, like, hey, next time maybe we should do this, or next time maybe we should do that, right? Now they learn, and then they get better at it, so that the next time you do something like that, again, they don't have to rely on you, but you've now had some input into down the road, what would you want it to look like? And so to have surround yourself with people that are the who's, not the how's. There's a dance that goes on that you have to evolve and trust those people.
Takes time.
It takes time, but you have to have them, because you as the business owner should be focusing on only the things that drive your business forward the most.
Drive revenue.
Right. So it's client meetings, it's prospecting, it's visionary, right? Being the visionary of your business. Those are the areas where you should be spending the most time. So then you have to delegate all the other stuff, which is not easy.
Yeah. That's
For
probably
type A personalities.
refreshing. Like a load of bricks is off your back in some respects.
Right. We did an interesting exercise for me. This was maybe 6 months ago. And I asked my team to write down all of the things that they think that I do during the course of a given week. Right. Not like, oh, what do you think I do for a living? It wasn't that. It was, what are you, when you look at what I'm doing, what are those things that you identified that I spend my time on? We then broke it up into 4 different categories. Category 1, which is the highest category, where I want to spend the most of my time, which is what are the things that I'm really good at and I really enjoy doing, right? That was number 1. Second one was, what are the things that I am good at, but maybe don't enjoy as much doing? That's just not my passion.
Not your
right?
natural talent.
Right. And then the third one is, what are the things that I'm good at, but I hate doing, right? And then the fourth one is, which you don't want to spend any time here, and that is, what are the things that you're not good at and that you hate doing, right? And so we categorize those things. And, there was some split. I spent nothing in the fourth category, about 20% in the third category. So what are the things that I'm good at that I don't enjoy doing? And the majority, maybe the rest of that was maybe split 50-50 between the first and second category. But what I'm trying to do is move all of my time to that first category. How do I keep moving the columns, moving my work effort into the first category, which is what I love to do and what I'm really good at? The only way I can do that is by having my team basically reallocate those things, tasks, and
delegating.
Delegate to people on my team that, like in category 2, that they're really good at and they really love doing, right? Like spreadsheets as an example. I enjoy doing them. I'm good at them, but I'm not as good at doing that stuff as my CFO, who loves to do it, right? And he's really good at it.
Right. Let go of the spreadsheet.
So let go of the spreadsheet, right? Step away from the keyboard.
And you're happy to have him be like
right.
that.
And I'm happy to have him be like that because he loves doing it. So for me, it frees up my time that I can then think of other things, and I can do more podcasts, and I can basically, what I love to do the most is be on the phone with clients, right?
Right.
And by the way, and that's what helps us drive more revenue.
Correct.
So look, we did that with you too. We went through the same type of thing. Like, where do you have the most impact
Right.
on the firm? And there's a couple of areas: training, working with clients, right?
Sales messaging.
Right. You were part of some operational meetings where you just sort of glaze over, right? Because it's not your natural skill set.
Right.
Right. I won't say that you're not good at it, but you're not great at it and you don't enjoy it.
Right. And where can it add? My whole thing is, where can it add value and impact to the organization for driving sales and driving revenue?
Right.
Sitting, watching a spreadsheet demonstration probably isn't going to, the knowledge is helpful. I always like having the knowledge,
right.
But I'm thinking, how can I use it with clients and with our employees?
Right. But I'll give you an example of a one that, so like HR stuff, right? I'm really good at it and dealing with that because I've been doing it for 30 years. I just don't enjoy it. Right. So I have someone on my team that is good at it and enjoys when I say HR, I'm not saying all bad stuff, right? There's good stuff, but I'm saying that they enjoy doing that. So I've gotten to a point now where I feel more and more comfortable with delegating any of those issues to those individuals. As an example, I had my son referred one of his buddies or his buddy of a buddy, something like that, for a position here, right? And he said to me last night, he goes, "Oh, Dad, did you interview such and such?" I'm like, I don't do interviews anymore. Like, I don't interview people anymore, right? Because I was able to bring people in that now can do that, and I trust their judgment on who they're going to hire. So I've now delegated something that used to take me a lot of time. And now I can put that time into things that actually move the needle more so than interviewing, people coming in for a $50,000 a year job, right?
Yeah.
As a financial advisor, as a business owner, that's the kind of stuff that you need to go through. And you said it the best, Stace. You have to be selfish with your time.
Protective.
Yeah,
right.
Protective, selfish. That's in your personal life too. I am very selfish with my time, with the things that I do on the weekends, the things that I do in the evenings. If it's an energy drain for me, I just don't do it. At my age, not that I'm like old, but I manage my time for the people and the places that are most important to me. I don't, if I know I'm going to, somebody is a sort of high drama, high whatever, I just try to avoid them.
I think what we're trying to say here is that we have an energy level and an enthusiasm when we feel productive, where we can actually measure the things that we're good at, that we're doing mostly in our day, and then we see results from it. And if we can focus on all the things, look, there's still things that we all have to do that we don't enjoy. We just have to, just the nature of any business. But if you can look back at your day and your week and say, wow, that was a really productive week. I felt really efficient and organized in my time and the things I delivered on. That's a good week.
Yeah.
That's a win.
I think you would be surprised that the more structured you try to make your week, the more productive you will be. It sounds sometimes counterintuitive, but it is. Like, for instance, we have a morning huddle every day, and you think like, wow, you have a morning huddle, then you have a Tuesday management meeting, then you have a lunch meeting, like that's a lot of meetings, but it isn't, right? Our morning huddle is tops 10 minutes tops. Most of the time it's like 5 or 6 minutes. And we just go around the horn of our leadership team just to basically, like, what is your top priority for the day today, right? And everybody goes around to do that. The reason why we do that, it takes 5 minutes. It's part of what if called the Rockefeller habits. So this is what the Rockefellers used to do. It actually saves us a lot of time during the course of the day, because now I know in less than 2 minutes what Stacey's priority is for the day. I don't have to go to her office and say, hey, what are you up to today? And then I go to my CFO's office. Hey, what are you up to today? And then their office, right? And that's 30, 40 minutes. It's like each person gets 1-2 minutes tops, and that's it. There's nothing. Every once in a blue moon, I'll talk about something, but most of the time it's not. We do it as a Zoom because different offices, it's just easier. But if you're in one office together and you want to do a huddle, literally stand up. We started doing them when we stood up, right?
Oh, right. That was more in person.
Because that was, but we added some people that aren't in the office, so we do a Zoom now, it's just easy. But, do something like that. The last thing I think is sort of funny, and I'm going to just tell you this because it's sort of humorous. Someone said to me once, you seem to wear like the same clothes all the time, right? Like you wear the same, not this literally the same, but it's all the same stuff. And I was explaining to someone last week that we were talking about this. I do that because it's an energy save for me.
One less decision you have to make.
One less decision right. I have to make. So I learned that from, if you look at like Steve Jobs, some of these other people, these high performing people, right? They try to, during the course of a day, limit the number of decisions, unimportant decisions that they have to make. And to me, clothes is one of them, right? So I have basically the same style jean, right? So Peter Millar jeans, only one style, and I have 5 of the same color, different colors, right? And then I have all my shirts. They're also Peter Millar. I only wear my brand. I don't wear anything. No, I always say no one pays me to wear their brand or their logo, right? And I appreciate firms send us stuff and and I appreciate that, right? I'm just not going to wear it, right? Because they don't pay me enough.
I think it's a good analogy to what we're talking about here is that you're building rituals, repetition, consistency,
Right.
One less decision you have to make, which ultimately buys you back thinking time in your morning. You just made your morning more efficient.
My morning is, I structure my morning sort of like how I structure my day.
Right.
I get, my morning ritual is the same. And when I have my sort of uniforms, right? Same shirt, this shirt goes with a certain color shoes, certain color pants, a certain belt. Like, I don't have to think about it. And I know it sounds sort of corny, right? But this is what some of the most successful people in the world do, right? I read a story about Kevin O'Leary, right? He has the same suits. He wears the same suits, and he has those suits in different locations, so he never has to think about what he's wearing. Because, again, it's an unimportant decision. I'd rather spend my morning thinking about my day, thinking about getting my mindset right for the day, not like what I'm wearing today. And it's just a waste of time. Yeah. So those are little things. Take from this what you want and think about what is efficient for you, right? We go to the same, basically 2 places for lunch, right? Maybe 3. Once in a blue moon we go to
there's a lot of variation though, so it works.
Right.
Yeah.
But we go to the same 2 places because it's easy. We don't have to think about where you want to go today. I don't know where you want to go today. I don't know. I don't really feel like we just go to the same 2 places.
And that's a 2-minute conversation I could have utilized for a client discussion.
And figure out where you figure out, right? And so within your world, figure those things out. Because as a business owner, and the bigger your business gets, the more decisions that you theoretically have to make, or the bigger the decisions, right? And you really need to be spending more and more of your time on the vision, on working with your clients, things that move the needle forward. But these are the things that the most successful advisors that we've talked to do, but also, really more importantly, forget about that you're a financial advisor. Really, you're a business owner who happens to be in financial services, right? So that's the way you have to look at yourself. And so, in a way, you don't necessarily compare yourself to other financial advisors. You should be looking at businesses that you admire and leaders that you admire, business owners and entrepreneurs that you admire, and mimicking what they're doing, because you're running a business that happens to sell financial services.
Right. They have systems, they have processes, they have rituals, they have time blocking skills that are better than anybody's.
Right. Yeah. I just, sometimes it's baffling. Anyway, I don't want to I can go off on a whole other tangent about my frustrations with quote unquote business owners, that punch clock. Anyway, with that said, we hope this is helpful. We hope that you can maybe take 1 or 2 of these things. Maybe a piece of advice that I would give is don't eat the elephant all in one bite. Like, literally, it'll overwhelm you if you go try to make all of these changes all at the same time, right? Just start with 1 or 2 things. So as an example, I have my assistant now. She essentially manages a lot of my email, right? But where I want to go to, and I'm not there, is I actually want to get to a point where I don't even check my email during the course of the day, right? I'm not there yet, right?
That's a huge stride, by the way.
That's a huge stride.
I don't know if I could do that.
Because I could just imagine and envision how much more time I'm going to get back, right? One of the things that we did do is, and so excuse me if someone messages me versus in LinkedIn, I may not get back to them right away. I spend very little time on that platform and looking at my DMs and all that other stuff, because I found out that I ended up going down rabbit holes and ended up you start scrolling LinkedIn, right? And then you blow 20 minutes and then another 20 minutes, and then another 20 minutes,
right?
And it starts to add up. So I have my assistant actually goes through my LinkedIn. So she's actually the one looking. And if she sees a message that comes in, because we all get junk mail, we all get all these messages all day long, she'll then go in and say, hey, you have a message from such and such. Do you want me to respond, or do you want to respond? And sometimes I'll say, I'll go and respond, right? But she's doing it for me. it saved me so much time because so much of LinkedIn is just noise now. Those are the types of things that you have to be thinking about and be honest with yourself about where do you spend your wasted time and how do you get that wasted time back. So anyway, with that said, we talked about a lot of stuff today. If you want to sort of just, shoot the shit and talk about more.
Go through a practice management discussion.
Go for a practice management. We're not, this is not a coaching conversation.
No.
That's not what we're trying to do here.
Best practices.
It's just best practices to help you grow your business faster. And maybe one day you decide that you've outgrown the firm that you're at. You want to move firms and you want to work with someone that actually knows about business, that's actually run a business, that's run an enterprise level size business.
That would be you.
That would be me or you. And you can give Stacey a call at
856-816-6322 or Stacey at eliteconsultingpartners.com. Don't forget the E. Frank at
eliteconsultingpartners.com. Or you can call me at 856-316-4651. You can shoot me a DM. I will get it. And I'll probably go to Mary, but she'll get it. Or you can shoot me a DM on my Instagram account, which is frankLaRosa.elite. Where I will also get those things. I usually don't look at my Instagram account till at night because that's a time robber for me during the course of the day. I practice what I preach. So anyway, with that said, thank you for listening to us. Really hope this helped. Really hope that you take one or two of these things away and try to implement them. And then as you expand, you can add a couple other things there, and hopefully that turns your business into a much more productive business. Thanks a lot.
See you soon.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics relating to the financial services industry, or just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast.